Howdy ho, everyone. How you doing? This is Sharyn Combs with UCDI Leadership. And guess what? This is knowledge or nonsense. So tonight I am fairly excited because I get to host and spend time just gleaning from what I consider one of the best minds in the industry. Just a very humble guy, very knowledgeable gentleman, big on team, a skill set, and actually like a brain that you want to get to know a little more. So he's going to be our guest today. His name is Barry Bryant. Some of you may know him from down in the Georgia area, but I'm excited that I'm going to be able to speak with him today about transparency in decision making, aka the blueprint. So without further ado, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and like the video, share the video. My name is Sharyn Combs. I'm excited to be able to spend this time here. You know, I'm going to ask him some good questions. And yeah, we're going to play this intro one more time. When we come back, Barry will be with us and we'll go from there. All right. Share the video, like and subscribe the video, and add comments because we want this to be an organic conversation amongst those of us who are in the industry and those of you who are in the industry to see our overall industry just continue to grow and improve and impact patient safety in the way that we desire. So, all right, guys, I will see you in just a minute. Hey, how are you doing today?
All right. How about yourself?
I am all right. Barry, I'm so glad. Welcome, first off. First and foremost, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I'm humbled to have you here. It's an honor. All of that amazing stuff that is so true, but I'm not going to pile it on you because I know, you'd be like, stop. But I am very glad that you're here, and I want to give you a warm welcome. I know we'll be being joined by someone else here shortly. I'm going to do what I need to do to make that happen. But
right.
Can you tell us a little bit about you? Like, how did you even get started in sterile processing, if you don't mind?
Okay. So I started out as a military trained surgical tech. And of course, in the Army, they train you to do sterile processing as well as a surgical tech in the OR. I spent my first, I would say most of my military training came from Walter Reed Army Medical Center. I spent some time in Korea. That's where I really got to run a sterile processing department at a hospital called 121st Evacuation Hospital in Seoul, Korea. I actually enjoyed it because before that, I was one of those surgical techs that also dumped on sterile processing, right? They can't do anything right. They can't do anything right until you really get a chance to spend some time on the other side and really appreciate you get back what you send them. So that to me really allowed me to want to be a voice for sterile processing. So when I came back actually from Walter Reed, when I came from Korea and went to Walter Reed, spent a little more time both in the operating room and sterile processing. Got out of the military, spent a few more years as a surgical tech, had an opportunity to work for a medical device company as a field service tech, did that for 2 years, then spent 3 years as a regional service manager. That's actually what brought me to Atlanta because I'm originally from Long Island, New York. And then after 3 years, teenage daughters needed to be home more. So took an opportunity to come back took an opportunity at Emory University here in Atlanta with a third-party company. Spent 3 years there, then went to another hospital in Atlanta, and then happened to get this opportunity that I'm currently in from guess who? Jhmeid out at Northeast Georgia Health System. He had kind of shared with me an opportunity and some transformations that were going on up there, and he did a lot of the work. So that to me was a great opportunity, and I took it. And I tell you, it was one of the most highlights of my career is working with this team at Northeast Georgia.
Isn't it amazing how, like, when you start, you think you know, but you really don't know where it can just land if you continue to move forward and continue to grow.
You're absolutely right. I thought I was going to be a PA, to be honest with you.
Position assistant.
But life takes its turns, right?
Yeah.
Where he wants you.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad he has put you here. The times I've seen you even off camera, I'm very glad that you're here and that I've heard from others. And I think that is always a testament to what your peers say about you. Not hater peers or peers who just shoot, but credible, solid peers in the industry, what they say about you. To me, it speaks volumes, because there's no dog in the fight for them to say those type of things, especially when you're not even in the room. And I've heard wonderful things about you from people who are not just in your chapter.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. It looks like I think Jhmeid is going to be joining us. I see some things back here, so I'm excited about that.
Okay.
And I'm excited about your journey. I did not know that you planned on being a physician's assistant. I definitely didn't know that you were from Long Island. Oh man, because I came up to you with just all of my Southern Oklahoma, how y'all doing, just no boundaries or anything. And now I find out you're from Long Island.
That's
wow.
Right.
You've been in Georgia long. That thing is polished now, I tell you.
You know what it is. When in Rome, do as the Romans. And one thing I learned when I went to Texas and I spent quite a bit of time in Texas too, in San Antonio and both Killeen, Fort Hood at the time. So I can adapt anywhere. You can put me anywhere and I'll make it home.
Man, I love that. I love that. All right, let's take a really quick break, just super quick, and then we'll bring Jhmeid right on in, and we'll let him introduce himself too. As JB posed, is how a lot will know him, not most. But yeah, we'll let him introduce himself in just a second. We'll be right back, guys.
All right, thanks.
Heidi ho, welcome everybody. You are watching Knowledge or Nonsense, and I'm here with Barry L. Bryant and Jhmeid. Hey Jhmeid, how are you?
Hey Sharyn, great to see you again. You know, I still owe you lunch. I still owe you lunch or dinner or something like that.
That's okay. I can eat. The next time we see each other, I'm just going to say, hey, I can eat, and I'll be ready. Hey, Jhmeid, like many in the industry already know you, but do you mind telling us a little bit about you, how you got your start, and how you got even to a place where you can credibly weigh in on transparency and decision-making, organizational shift, and things of that nature?
I will. I was inspired listening to Barry's origin story. Very similar, because I was a military guy as well. Left Georgia as a teenager, joined the Navy, went to our core school, and then I eventually went to Surge Tech school. Then I went to Field Med school. Then I went to Okinawa, Japan for 6 years. Changed my life. I went over there a boy and came back a man. And I learned a lot, worked in the OR and in the military. I don't know if Barry said this, there's no difference between sterile processing and the operating room. You can scrub craning, and then you can be in sterile processing, breaking down stuff, right? So we didn't know about the rivalry. We didn't know anything about the rivalry. Came back to the States and was stationed at the busiest hospital in the Navy. And so, I was in charge of, what they call the ALPO, and then I became the LPO. So I was in charge of a lot of people. There's a lot of civilians and techs. We staffed 2 techs per room in the military. So, and then with extra people to help you turn over. So I started moonlighting, because I knew I was transitioning to go from active duty to the reserves. So I started moonlighting, and I started working at a hospital, and then it was like a wake-up call. The same time I used Dante's to pay for my first assistant, so I became a first assistant. So I started first assistant out in the community. So I was first assisting on my civilian time, and then being in charge of a bunch of people. Look at Ken saying Army. We have this rival, and so so as I transitioned out. I first started off teaching surge tech. Hey, there's our, I started teaching surge tech, and then I started teaching surgical assistant school with my friend and close friend and rest in heaven, Curtis Sconyers. He gave me my break teaching first assistant. So then he was a hustler, because then we could staff ourselves out and our students. So I was moonlighting doing that while I was teaching surgical tech. And so then the opportunity came, and I started working at Children's. I worked my way up from the ambulatory surgery coordinator to the director of surgical services support. Then I went to I actually started speaking around the country while I was still working there. And so then I started consulting. I've been with Advantage for the last 7 years. Wow. It's such a fun thing. But going back in that story, when I opened up the ambulatory surgery center, guess who my service rep was for my most expensive instrument?
Oh, you ready to chime in on that? That's how we met.
It was Barry. And so met Barry, cool guy. And then he was like, yeah, I was a surgery tech too, because when I was the ambulatory surgery coordinator, I was in charge of the surge techs and the sterile processing techs and the surgical inventory. So it's kind of combining all the skills that I had up to that point. And so Barry and I established a friendship, a fast friendship. We always kept in contact the whole time. So then when he left being a field service rep, he really saved me a lot of money. He shot straight, just a good guy. And so we kept in contact. And so then as I moved up, I needed him. Then he was gone. When I became director, I was like, yeah, get Barry in here. They're like, Barry is left. But then he was like, no, I'm at another hospital. So he was in the metro Atlanta. And then one of my biggest leadership thing was I was at Barry's hospital for a while. And so it was time for me to transition, and it was actually consultants upstairs and downstairs. So it was consultants upstairs and downstairs, and I was trying to get out of there because I had gotten a promotion. I got a promotion in my company, and I couldn't take the promotion for like 8 months because they were like, "Please stay," and they hired not the right choice person, and so that person didn't work out. So they said, please just stay. So I was like, right. And then I said, I'm taking it to my own hands, because I was talking to Barry and he was at a good place. But I was like, hey, man, this place is better because the place now, they just had exponential growth, and they weren't being cheap. And let me tell you, in our field, that's not common. They want you to do more with less. And
all the time.
They wanted you to do more here because this is busy. It's the second busiest hospital in Georgia. So it's the second busiest hospital in Georgia. Well, they were super busy, but they were just like, what do you need to do this? Do more of this, do more of that. And I was like, yep, need more ultrasonics. I need the fancy dancy one. I need new washers. So I didn't want to turn that over to just anyone. And so then when Barry interviewed, he blew them away. And they were like, yeah, we got to have him. Because I wasn't involved in the interview process for the first person. And I wasn't even involved in the interview process for Barry, really. Except for like one little mini thing. But he blew them away. And which was selfishly good for me because now I could go. And so it literally
gave me 2 weeks and was gone.
But I mean, I would have stayed longer, but
No,
he had it in control at that point, right? Like he knew what he was talking about, and that was the thing. I think the other person didn't have enough experience to appreciate and realize what they were walking into, because they were like, well, what about this? Like trying to find something wrong. Those people up there are great people. They became my family. I still talk to them all the time when I see them at conference. Barry brought a bunch of people to conference, which I love, that's like one of those measures. Like you could talk like a bunch of these people on LinkedIn and bragging on themselves. And then you see them at conference and they didn't bring a single person. They go on every year, but they not go bring a single person. Barry brought a whole crew. And I remember my first time going to HSPA, life-changing, because you think you're all by yourself in this silo of nerddom where you're, like, I care about this field. Then you get there and you go, oh, other people care, and they know more than me. So seeing Barry do that was great. And so anytime I get a chance to work with Barry to support the GSHSPA, which is, very dear to me, because like I go around the country. I've spoken at 41 chapter meetings. Sharyn and I have spoken at how many chapter meetings together? I gave her a clicker. So we have like this great bond, and those of us who speak a lot, and they're like, well, when do you speak for Georgia? And Georgia was kind of, it had hit a opportunity for improvement. And so I'm excited about the energy that they have now. I think that means I'll see Barry Moore, Kyrie, Shamir, crew, Heather Owens, the other young ladies and gentlemen that are there. So we're all in supporting them. And I'm just happy for Barry, and I'm happy to be on this show so we can talk about some of the things, because sometimes I'm on shows and I'm like, this joker don't know what they're talking about. I know this guy knows what he's talking about. I've seen what he can do, and I know that he knows how to help people get to where they're trying to go.
I know. I was thinking about that with Shamir. I was like, man, this is going to be so power packed, but I'm getting to sit in her seat. But I'll tell you what, I've learned that opportunity often disguises itself. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm about to learn something. I knew it was going to be good. I know that y'all have relationship. I know that the energy and synergy is there, and I know that your speaking isn't going to be like hypothetical or based on like an hypothesis. Like, there's some elbow in the game.
Perfect situation.
And because I'm Navy too, just because I'm Navy too. So yes, AS32, exactly what's going on. So I see some people on here saying a few things, but what I really want us to do, if we can, is going to be organic, but I'm going to keep trying to facilitate the tree and the stump of this. I see Green Golden, Rebecca, Kenneth in there. I see already some kudos. Yes, let other team members attend meetings. Advocate for your team, which Barry does, consistently. I've seen him invest in his team too. But I would like for us to be able to speak, if you guys don't mind, about transparency and decision making. And I'm going to ask some of the questions now, and then probably the conversation will just be organic, if you all are up for that. We're going to talk about how leaders can be clearer about their goals and about organizational changes, because if a consultant is in there, if it's one thing a consultant can and will signalize to you, is something is going to change. Someone is invested in bringing this person in from outside, and all change isn't bad, so find out, be involved, see what's going on. So how we can be clear about goals and organizational changes. What are credible ways to advocate for transparency and decision-making? Because again, this is knowledge or nonsense. And I know most people in this industry are passionate. However, powwows that are sometimes in the break room and never leave the break room or come from a shoot, if you don't know what that means, just coming from a perspective of, I call it maybe victim or no influence. Like, what are credible ways that you can advocate, and not just water cooler, unless water cooler is some strategy I'm not aware of, and you guys can tell me that, because it may be. Also, what times might it hinder for there to be transparency in decision making. You know, in case it has to do with something a little higher on the organizational charter, what ways may it, if any, kick back? And the last thing are, how does decision making and communicating certain decisions, how will that impact how we implement something and carry it out? Okay, I tried to read all of those. Now we can go wherever we want to go in this conversation, but I do want to hit some of those things. Right before we do that, guys, we're going to take a quick break for about 60 seconds, and then we're going to get in, and I'm on for the ride. I, too, am going to have this notepad and this pen right here. So bring it on. Y'all, if y'all have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat or any comments. Unless your name is Kenneth and you're actually trying to advocate, you know, for the Army, like, we thank you in case Hassan gets on. But, you know, maybe. Yeah. So we'll be right back, guys. Give us about 59 seconds. All right, guys, and we're back. This is Knowledge or Nonsense. My name is Sharyn Combs. I am sitting in today for Shamir Curry, and I'm glad to be sitting here in this seat. You see, Green Golden said, let other team members attend the meetings, advocate for them. She said that she's always stood by that as well. I want to ask you guys first, like, do you know a benefit maybe of being transparent with your team in decision making? Like,
I could start.
Okay.
The one thing I've always felt is that you need to create an environment where your employees will be informed and involved. And one of the big mistakes I always hear organizations do is they hold on to things because they're afraid of what may happen. And I know you used a term earlier about the water cooler people. I call them locker room lawyers. My feeling is always, if you don't get ahead of locker room lawyers, they will fill the gap for you. So it's very important to make sure that the team understands the why, because I think that's important. Because when they understand the why, you get buy-in. You got to be honest. You got to share with them what is truly happening. I think I like to encourage dialogue. And some people are not comfortable talking in a group. So I always make sure that my door is never closed unless someone is in there speaking with me. Team members can come to me about anything, because I know sometimes people prefer to come to you and talk to you, not in public, maybe in a private setting. But I think that is definitely important, because like, we have a lot of moving parts going on. And I'll give you an example. We're in the process of building an offsite reprocessing center. And when that first was discussed, I made it clear to my team, because I didn't want it to get out. Because what was happening was they thought they were losing their jobs. They really thought that all of the sterile processing was going to be centralized to one location, and that all of the ancillary hospitals were all those departments will be losing positions. So I had to share with them that that's not the goal. The goal of this for us, to be honest with you, was to offload. What is the biggest challenge in sterile processing? We all know it's vendor trays, right? So we can offload those vendor trays to the offsite reprocessing center. That'll free up the ability to increase our capacity in our current sterile processing position. So that's our approach to it. And we're looking at that from just 20% of our volume. So, I think it began to make sense to them. They started feeling more comfortable. But I think that's an example of, if you don't get in front of it, then you know what's going to happen. People are going to start filling in the blanks themselves.
That's such a good thing. I often in communication, there's something I teach called language mastery. And one of the things we talk about is if you don't tell somebody the story of what's going on, just relationally, I didn't even think about it how you said it with the lawyers, locker room lawyers, but like relationally, if you don't tell somebody a story, they will create their own narrative. So if it's something that deals with them or pertains to them, you may want to give them some information. That's really good. That's good that you shared that. How about you, Jhmeid?
So that was a great story and warning resident psych major. So let's reverse that. When people are not transparent when they're making decisions, why is that? And a lot of that becomes two things: their insecurity, or they don't respect the team that they have working for them. And I don't care how great a manager you are, how many certifications you have, master's degree, a PhD, you cannot do it without your team. And so you owe it to them to as I saw Sharyn Green Golden say, you owe it to them to give them the real uncut dope. They deserve that honesty and true transparency. And so, because when you don't, eventually they're going to find out. And why would you not, as their leader, be the one that tells them, right? So even if it's not the greatest of news, what Barry shared was some good news, but sometimes the news is not as good. And we're dealing with our feelings of processing the news because we don't agree with it. But we still have an obligation to those lives, to those family members, to those kids, to how they get there every day, to their 401k. All those things are affected. And what you find is if you're transparent and honest about decisions, whether they're big or small, if you're transparent, you get help and support on decisions that you need help and support. You can't hold it, you can't hold it as a secret and then say, okay, aha. And then you go like, why aren't these guys helping me do this new initiative? Because you didn't tell them, as Barry said, the why. You didn't build the case. And part of that, I think, is some of that generational stuff. Like your parent might have been a good parent, and we didn't get good leadership classes. So our leadership style is from our preacher or our parent or something like that. And those are not the leadership styles that work. Like I don't have a problem with millennials or Gen Zs or any of the people wanting an explanation for things that they deserve that. They deserve that. And shame on us. Shame on us for going and running into the nuclear room and pressing the red button without asking, is there any danger? Why is this yellow tape around here? So they deserve that. And I think it just really if you can't hold information from them and hope or expect that it's a two-way accountability thing, that they contribute to the success of a decision, right? Because Barry is going to need some of their help with the offsite, whether it's going over there or the policies and procedures and sending stuff over there. But you can't hold it from them, and then the director or somebody else tells them, somebody at another campus tells them, oh, by the way, I need you guys' help to make this a success. No. So that transparency can really rally people and help them help you succeed. So
I think, and just to piggyback on what you're saying, and I also believe that you need to continually update them. They need to know what's going on. I'm there. I don't miss my tier 1 huddle. I'm there every morning at 7 o'clock. If I'm not there, it's because I'm either on vacation or I have a meeting somewhere else. But for the most part, I would say about 90% of my tier 1 huddles, I'm there. I like to give people daily updates. Anything new that comes out, anything that's going on, because I think it's important, and I think they will really feel engaged and informed. And again, that eliminates the locker room lawyers from filling them with false information, because I've seen it happen over the years. Again, you don't give them the truth if you don't share with them what's happening, what's going on. To Sharyn's point, even if it hurts, some things, unfortunately, will be tough decisions. But I like to give people as much knowledge as I can about what's going on and what may be happening, because they have a right to make an informed decision for their own lives. And I have lost people, great techs, to go on to other places because I am not going to hold anybody back from progressing or doing what's best for their family.
That's what's up. But that builds trust. That builds trust. And often, one of you had mentioned, like, generationally, there are different generations in the workplace. And so there are generations that are still like, hey, like old school parents, because I said so, and when I said so, and I don't, it's almost like, but then you have a newer generation and they're like, hey, no, you're not going to make arbitrary decisions with me. Like, I have a say so. And even though a few decades ago, that would have been like, man, get out of here. Next, you're fired. That's not now. That's not now. It's the competitive job market both ways. As the person looking to gain employment and as the organization looking to secure top talent. Like, people want to know. And one of the things I did learn when I came into this industry really fast is the end users heavily influence the outcomes. I don't care what decisions are made, the end users carry those decisions out. And so, anything you can do to have a little more transparency and help that. And so I see Kyrie saying, yes, Jhmeid, staff deserves to know the why. Keep encouraging our future generation to speak up and be transparent. And I understand that is uncomfortable for other generations, but that's okay, because comfort zones are designed to grow. Some people are like, I'm gonna stay in my comfort zone. Your comfort zone was never designed to be one size. You get comfortable. Just keep learning. They're designed to grow. They'll stretch. All right. I like that. Jhmeid, did you have anything you wanted to follow up with that before I ask something different?
That was a great piggyback by Barry, and I think it's really a great opportunity to help us for new leaders, or even just because somebody is a new leader doesn't mean they're not using old school tactics, and that doesn't mean everything is bad, right? But what it does mean is, when you're being transparent, as you're explaining it, as you're preparing to explain it, sometimes you can figure out some flaws in your plan. If you're transparent, sometimes they can help you figure out some flaws in your plans. What you don't want is your superiors or other departments in the organization to find the flaws in your plan. So that's part of the benefit of being transparent, right? When appropriate.
That's so good, because it is a team. It's a team. Okay, now, one of the things we have on here says the blueprint. So we're talking about transparency and decision making. Are there ways that you all select which method may be best? Like, is there criteria? And I know this is a hot seat question. It was not on the pre-submitted question. So you can jump in, I can take commercial, or you can say, hey, there's something else I wanted to share. But are there criteria that you evaluate and how you display your transparency? Whether it's going to be a huddle, whether it's going to be one-on-one, like, do you have different methods for different instances? Long question, but that's the sum of it.
I think you have to have multiple ways of communicating. It's just not just one way, right? Everyone doesn't receive information just one way. Some people it's tier one huddle board. Some people it's electronic emails. Some people read the emails. Some people don't read the emails. So I think there's more than one way. Definitely the one-on-ones are important as a leader. You have one-on-ones with employees. And it doesn't have to be a formal one-on-one. It could just be the reason I love to have my door open, because I catch people walking by, and that's a great opportunity to talk to them. Even if I'm in the middle of doing something, like right now, I'm heavily engaged in employee evaluations, but I won't hesitate to stop to ask someone a question, just to engage them, have some conversation with them, and then inquire about some things that I may be thinking about, because I think it is important to involve them, especially when there's changes happening. Right? When we're implementing new changes, they're the ones on the front line, not us. We could sit there and think we know the answer. And there's been times a lot of us as leaders have found out from the frontline staff that there's no way we can do that, and here's why. And I said, you know what? I never thought about that. So to allow the frontline leaders or the frontline staff kind of guide you. You know the limits, you know what's within the standards and what's not. But they're the ones on the front line, so they know the challenges.
All right. Let's switch it up a little bit. Now, you guys are showing some amazing nuggets. These are some good nuggets, especially for other people who, like your colleagues and your peers, who are going to have to display some transparencies or, help things roll out. What about when it's not just an organizational decision that needs transparency, but maybe it's a decision you want to make about something that's within your own scope, something that you have authority, autonomy over, and some changes you want to make there? What are some ways you can have that transparency so that your upline or somebody who may want to, peek over into, I call it your kingdom, but it's your branch, your leg of, your leg of this organization. How could someone be transparent there so that there are no surprises, no budgetary surprises, even though it's something well within your scope, but you're still letting people know? What are some ways transparency and decision-making can help, if you don't mind sharing some tips for your peers and colleagues there? Because some may not know how to speak with their upline, or they may be uncomfortable speaking with their upline and not feeling secure in presenting their case.
Well, that is right in my wheelhouse, because that is something that I struggle with as a military guy, right? Like in the military, we don't do that. You're in charge of this. You make all the decisions. If it goes right, great. If it goes wrong, we're going to get you. And so I wasn't the best at upline communication and sharing and determining which things to be transparent about and which things not to bother my upline, because that's in all three of us that were in the military. And we know that we're coached that if the place is not on fire, I don't need to know about all this stuff. I don't need to know that Tandrea has a dental appointment. Hey, Tandrea. That was one of my team. But so, it's part of that is understanding and realizing as you get more experience, wow, I probably should have shared that. I probably should have run that by. So it's really using your judgment to combine, because it's still, you don't want to be that indecisive person that needs somebody else to check off or make the decisions for you. But what I found is transparency helps you for later. The saying that we had in the military can get you in trouble in real professional life. You know this saying, all three of us know. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. That's probably not a good leadership trait. And I had to shake that one off. Because, hey, man, I'm just going. We're going to get this done. You got the results you wanted? All right. But one of the things that I had to learn and adapt, and especially in a consultant role, it's totally different in the consulting role. As you can probably think about, Barry, back from your rep days. You can't just do stuff. You have to make sure that everybody is in agreement and everybody. So that it's a balance, right? You need to take charge and do the things that you need to do. But even if it's on the back end, you need to be transparent about the decisions that you're made. And what I was really good on the HR part of it, because I was like, is this going to cause people to go to HR? Because that's a unique challenge in our specific geographic area. Everybody, I don't know whether it's Real Housewife of Atlanta or Love and Hip Hop. Everybody is important. Everybody is somebody. So you have to make sure that even if you're asking them to do the stuff in their regular job, let me make sure this is what is all right from the HR perspective. But it's not just the HR perspective. Your direct report upline, as you said, Sharyn, you need to keep them informed, because all the decisions that you're going to make are not going to be consensus decisions, and there might be blowback. You don't want them to be surprised about a decision that you've made, that you have the authority to make, you have the justification to make, you just didn't share. So that's my advice on it.
And plus, you want to make sure the communication is the same, because you don't want to say one thing and then your senior leaders are saying something different. So sometimes you need to go to your senior leadership first and have this conversation because you want to make sure the message is consistent, because that can also ruin your credibility as a leader. You know, that is the easiest thing to lose and the hardest thing to gain back is credibility.
Trust. Trust.
True.
You do want to hold it. So Tandria says yes. She said they do 3 huddles a day at most. Well, okay, 3 huddles a day. Communication books. I wonder what that is. And blast it in their tracking system. Does that mean there's a handoff document, Tandria? I'd like to know. On the communication book.
I can explain that because I know where Tandria got it from.
I was like, communication books? I know shift report.
Right. And so everything can't go on a shift report because it may not have to do with that shift. It might have to do with the department overall. So the shift report should be like, these are our turnover trays. It should be operations and logistics. But a communication book can talk about Sharyn is coming tomorrow, so let's set up the lounge. Please pull the stuff, like stuff that doesn't have to do with the operations for our customers. So that's a great idea. And you can also put that same information in instrument tracking system. Every single one of them is one of the most underused part of that, because there's always going to be somebody out, somebody on vacation. Even when you have even with the 3 huddles, whether it's the weekend shift or somebody who comes in a little bit, like I work second shift, but I come in at 5 o'clock because I'm at a second job. Well, do we want our PRN people to do the stuff that our regular people are doing? How do we communicate it to them? So what Tandria is doing is covering all the opportunities, which creates the accountability, right? So if I cover all those things, well, I wasn't at huddle. Well, we put in a communication board. Well, I just came in and got right to work. Okay. But then when you logged in, it said, here's our new process change. So, well, I just skipped through that. Well, that's okay. You're still going to take this opportunity for improvement, but we'll do it better the next time. But that's the great thing about being transparent with your communication. If you're transparent, you can hold people accountable. When you're not transparent, you lose the ability to hold them accountable, because he goes, we want Barry to transfer to the weekend. We want Barry to transfer to the weekend. I'm talking to Barry's manager. I'm talking to Barry's supervisor. I haven't talked to Barry. So then I say, hey, Barry, can you transfer to the weekend in the next 2 weeks? And you say, nope. The policy says 30 days. And Barry's like, I'll have another job by the time you want me to work the weekend. But if we had asked Barry, then we might have got a different response. So I think that transparency creates the accountability and gives you a better chance of success.
Yeah. And it's funny, the communication book, it's kind of dating us, because before we had SBM with the ability to communicate with staff, that's how we communicated with staff. It was in the lounge. And you're right, to your point, if you were on vacation, if you were off, it is your responsibility to read that book and sign off when you come back in case you missed an in-service or anything that's going on. So that is very important.
Wow. And it was effective?
Yes, it was. That's all we had back then.
Wow. Oh, well, way to go, Tandria. She's like, yes. She was like, yes. So you must have been opening it up, Jhmeid, because she was definitely like, yes. Okay.
Yes.
I'm telling you, this time flies. Guys, we only have 10 minutes left already. So if you could, what would you say to someone who may be struggling with being transparent in leadership for whatever reasons, whether they're new, I don't know. You guys know more reasons than I do. All of them may not be nefarious. As a matter of fact, within this industry, it seems sometimes nefarious gets the biggest voice, but I don't think it's the largest voice. If there's a difference, if you can understand what I'm saying there. So for somebody, it may just be, hey, I'm new to this role. I'm new to leadership, analysis, paralysis. Like, what are some things, if you guys don't mind, maybe sharing, because the motto for this season is be the change you want to see, which is about leveling up, level up, do a little more, don't kill yourself, but do a little more, grow that comfort zone. What would you all share with those individuals who may be the trepidatious or, have some trepidation about being transparent?
I think too many leaders, I always say this is not Facebook. We're not here for likes. Because I think too many leaders are afraid to have hard conversations because they're afraid of how they're going to be perceived or judged or something to that effect. So I think that's a lot of mistakes young leaders make. I think when they come in, they, a lot of times they got promoted. These were once their friends, and now they have to lead them, and they don't know how to make that adjustment from being your peer to now having to lead you. So those are the ones that struggle with transparency, I find, because they're afraid to deliver that news, and they're the ones that they're sitting on the fence. So they're going to say, well, they want us to, or Barry wants us to, or the manager wants you to, instead of saying,
right.
Yeah. So those are the ones I find that struggle the most with it. I try to have those conversations with them. I think that's where those leadership opportunities in classes come into play for them, because we don't want them starting out with bad habits, and a lot of them have picked up bad habits from other leaders as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's a great answer. Sharyn, I kind of alluded to it before, and Barry kind of touched on it. It's the fear, right? It's the fear of the response, the fear of pushback, the fear of becoming unpopular. But what I can promise you is, if you're transparent, if you're early as possible, obviously you shouldn't leave a meeting with the C-suite and go, all right, guys, let me tell you. But when you're transparent as early as possible, it has the best chance of getting a different response than the response you fear. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When I'm not transparent and I'm making moves, and they're like, oh, I know Sharyn is going to be mad that we have to do this. Well, you know why Sharyn is mad? Because I held it. Then I spring it on Sharyn, and she's like, nope, I ain't doing it. Get somebody else to do it. The old manager would have done it. Whereas that fear that Sharyn was going to have that response is what caused me to delay being transparent in my communication. But then because I delayed, that's why Sharyn had that response. If I was to say, all right, I had a chance to digest it, I know Sharyn is going to be one of my hard nuts to crack. So maybe at Huddle is not the place to share it. Hey, Sharyn, you got a second? Can you come by my office? Hey, I just wanted you to know, I know how much you like doing this and all that stuff. We will no longer be pulling cases. And so that's going to mean you're going to need to rotate more into whatever the decision is that I'm afraid that Sharyn is going to. What I found is when you're transparent and you're early, instead of saying, I'm scared of Sharyn, so I'm going to hold it, and then I'm just going to announce to everybody, we no longer will be pulling cases as of February the 30th, which doesn't exist. And then, but everybody knows that Sharyn is the one that pulled cases. So I'm saying it like, we shall no longer pull cases, instead of saying,
and it's not a we. Yes.
Right. And so I didn't want to have that conversation because I know Sharyn is going to not like that. But by pushing it back and making an announcement without having that crucial conversation and owning the thing, not
own it. That's leadership.
They said that we not pulling cases. No, we looked at the numbers. It's a better use of personnel. They have the people to do it, and then we can do more trades, because ultimately that's what we're supposed to be doing. And so then if I can have that conversation with Sharyn before I announce it in public, before it's 2 weeks before it starts, then Sharyn might be like, you know what? I might be able to hang. But if
it works. Yes.
Yeah, hey, start
you give it a why.
Right.
You gave Sharyn the why.
Give her the why. Be honest with it. Don't be like, well, I just said, or the supply chain took over the case pulling. So you want to go talk to somebody, go talk to them. No.
Right.
When you have that fear of being unpopular or the decision not going your way, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're not transparent and don't give the whys and don't value your team members and understand why it's important for them to know. Because the managers who are not transparent with that communication, they don't like when people do it to them. They don't like when they go, oh, the C-suite said this is the new thing and your FTEs are cut or whatever. So I love that. I love that, Sharyn. People pleasing is harmful to the team.
It is harmful to the team. It is. And I understand, because my wheelhouse. Remember you guys were talking about your wheelhouses in your 20, 30 years? this is my wheelhouse, because what it does is it actually sets you in front of the team, but not in a take charge type of way. And so your team will have difficulty, buying in. Now, I'm just going to go with what Crystal said. That was really good. Barry, you want to jump in before I read this?
Go ahead, read it. I'm good. I'm good. I know we only got 5 minutes, so go ahead.
So I do want to share this. So I do some things with John Maxwell, and I'm also a human behavior consultant. And one of the things is procrastination. Like, people will avoid something, but it is exactly what Jhmeid just said. You run until you run right into what you were trying to avoid. Maybe because you don't want it to be awkward between this or such and such, but that putting off doesn't make it less awkward, And I want to say this. There are 4 different personality types. I don't care where you go, whether it's DISC or Myers-Briggs or wherever. There are individuals who process quick. It does not make them more intelligent. And then there are individuals who process more thoroughly, like your accountants, people who work in sterile processing. They process. They looking at all the information and gonna bring it in. They have the method. They're detail oriented. They need all the details. Sometimes the fast processor just needs, oh, it's a light. They're not waiting to see if it's a green light. They just know that's a traffic light. And so you want to give people, because if you don't know their personality, you want to give them time to process and think these things through. Because just as Jhmeid said, they may say, hey, okay, this is what we're doing. So Kyrie said, it's a difficult transition from working alongside your friends to now leading your team the way you should. Heart. Yes, progressive leadership. And having those conversations and transparency with those new leaders is a way to set them up for success. And then she said, jewels are being dropped. And so I heard Barry say it. I see Kyrie saying it. Jhmeid is saying it. Listen, one thing I'm going to let you know, for those of you who are ready and looking to go into leadership, even before you have the title, think about the type of leader you want to be. Because the moment you move up, your team is going to remind you of everything. So, look at how, I know it sounds funny, but look at how you support your leader. If you're not doing anything except kicking in the back,
that is a jewel. That's a jewel.
As soon as you do it, listen, the expectation is that they happy you the manager. Oh man, Barry the manager, we don't have to come in till 30. He got it. No, listen. Be the change you want to see. Okay, I'm gonna get off of that, but I want you, don't feel bad if you're feeling that right now. You're experiencing it. Awareness drives behavior. So now you're aware and just begin to adjust. And it's okay, step up, have the conversations, be transparent. And yeah, I'm the interviewer, my bad. Let's go back to the interviewing. Is there anything you all would like to share with our peers, with our colleagues before we go? Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. I've learned. Always I learn. Is there anything you all would like to share?
I just want to, you said something, and I just want to reinforce that to new leaders, old leaders, people who want to be leaders. It's not easy. It is going to be scary, and that's okay. We're not here to tell you, oh, you should be transparent with your communication because it's easy and everything will turn out perfect. It's not. But it's the right thing to do. And as you get more comfortable with it, you'll get better at it. And as you get better at it, your team will understand that it's coming. And then as your team understands it coming, they can support and anticipate what your needs are. So it's a process. And like Sharyn said, it's not easy. And none of us are naturals. I hate that fake kind of thing. But if you take that time and make it important to you, I promise you it'll pay out in the end.
And that is so true. So true. The one thing I can say is don't do it for the money because it'll show. You need to have a passion for leading and for like I am thrilled to watch people grow and accomplish their goals and their dreams. Again, don't do it for the money because you are going to be very destructive if that's what you're doing it for.
Yes.
Do it because you care about people, you care about patients, and you want to make a difference in this profession.
Man, I couldn't have said it better myself. Guys, connect with these individuals on LinkedIn. Are there other places you all would like for them to connect with you? For people who want to connect, people who have some questions, just want to know more. Oh, I can't hear you. It was so beautiful, but no.
No, it was because I was being a smart aleck. I was saying, let's keep it on LinkedIn. Let's keep it on LinkedIn.
Okay. Right.
No, I'm transparent. You can find me on Facebook. Don't
LinkedIn or be free.
But LinkedIn is where I can easily, communicate better. Facebook has all my family stuff on it, so I prefer LinkedIn. So,
okay. Likewise,
definitely on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being with us. From Knowledge and Nonsense, I know Shamir is going to be just sick. That I
give a shout out to GSPA.
GSPA, let's do it. Tell us about it.
Give a shout out to Northeast.
Yes. Let me go ahead and put my thing up here for GSPA. See if I can find it. Because Shamir's going to be like, where is it? I'm doing it, Shamir. Be the change. Be the change you want to see. We are challenging you right now.
All right, Jhmeid, you got to make the video. You got to challenge 5 other people.
Yes, make a video of how you will be the change
I felt like I wasn't doing something right.
That's what it was.
Okay. I got you. You know, I can challenge a bunch of people in this metro Atlanta.
There you go.
Yes. So do that. Okay. Guys, that's it. Make the video, challenge 5 other people. How will you be the change you want to see? And you can send that to Shamir via LinkedIn. You can send it to me here on. You can send us a message on Knowledge and Nonsense, and I'll be sure that it gets there. And GSPA, just know that we're partnering with you on being the change that we want to see. I believe that's it. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
It's like, bye-bye. Yes.